blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Hello and welcome back to According to Courtney. If you're new to the channel, congratulations for finding me. I'm super excited to have you. And if you have been with According to Courtney, it is so good to see you guys. I'm Courtney West. I am a full spectrum doula educator, childbirth educator, and everything in between, dealing with birth, happiness, and all those things. Here on our channel, we talk about everything from filling our cup, mental health, birth, and everything in between. It has been so nice to see you guys. I've missed being here so much. Last time I actually shot was back in July, and I just wanted to come back and kind of catch y'all up on life and things like that. I was just like, I never expected to go on a hiatus for so long, but you know, life was lifing, like hardcore lifing. And I went really back and forth for a while about coming back to According to Courtney. And I'm going to go over these reasons today. A lot of it was just a lot of things happening in life, and I just wasn't in a space to share. And about me, I always feel about being authentic is number one. I always want to be authentic, and I want to be honest. I want to be truthful. And at the time, I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. I wasn't in a space that felt safe being vulnerable in this space. So it took some time. As you can see, the background's a little different. Yay! Because a lot, and I'll get into that as well. So there's just been a lot. So let's back up 6 months. So we're gonna move into like even a little longer than that. It started really in April. In April of many episodes back, I had talked about almost last year, actually, this time last year, I had talked to you guys about I had gotten a grant and that I was going to be opening a center in Southside St. Pete through working with Federal Healthy Start, and that I would have a safe space center for Black and Brown families to come and get lactation and doula support and everything. And this was like my dream. Keep in mind, the year before, I had brought a giant doula course to Pinellas County where I was able to get 29 doulas to be able to work in Start so that they would be able to work for Healthy Start, work for themselves. And so I had been grinding and doing this work in my community going on now 8 years. And so I felt like finally I was getting the respect and everything that I had worked so hard for to be able to just help the people that I love so much. So I found out in the end of April, now keep in mind, this would have been going on since December of last year, that I was going to get the space and that everything was ready. We're just ready for everything to fire off and go. Well, I found out through an email that Federal Healthy Start was being dissolved and the grant money was gone. I was devastated. I had put together a whole team of people. I had reached out to midwives, lactation consultants, chiropractors, yoga and Reiki masters, artists to come in and to work with these communities. So I had to go and write and tell each person that this wasn't going to happen. For people who know me and know my work in the community, they know that I am one of those people who get it done. Nobody knows what I'm doing until it's done. And so for me to have built this up, get all these people together, get all this organized to just say, poof, it's gone, was such a blow. I was so devastated that it really made me feel like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? I've done all the things I didn't understand. At the same time, I had put in for a couple of grants, and each of the grants that I worked with other people, they got the grants, but I got written out of the grants. And that was devastating to help assist in writing like $100,000 grants, or people taking pieces of what the work that you're putting into it and be able to slide someone in there who doesn't look like me. And to have someone saying that you're working in, the Black and brown communities, working in nutrition, working in lactation, working in childbirth education, and to be told to your face that the reason they don't want you is because of what you look like. I look like the community they were wanting, that is needing the help. And then instead to have someone who doesn't look like the community, who doesn't represent the community, who's actually known for doing harm to the community, being picked because they checked the boxes, they played games. It was so difficult, and I was so hurt and so embarrassed. So I just had to kind of just take a step back, but I was still, working, doing content, but having that on my conscience at the same time. And that was April moving into May. Some of those same grant writers and grant participants on different projects I meet with my people. I always, since I've had a business, I've always had my own tax person, my own everything separately from my businesses. I get a call from my tax person like, hey, we got an issue with your taxes. So one of these grants, they did not put in your information in your pay correctly. So now you owe the IRS money. One thing's for sure, two things for certain. Courtney Nicole West does not owe the IRS nothing. I am so comfortable and so particular about my books. I was mortified to see this and to see how it was put down. And it was just another blow. I was like, whoa, now I got to pay back money. And now I'm gotten money taken from me. So let's recap for just this little bit of time from April to May. We out money. So we're out a grant for over $30,000 for a center. We're out around a couple of grand in taxes. We're out another grant for $100,000. Another one that was around another $100,000. So for me, I just was like feeling bombarded of what is happening right now. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with what I'm doing? What's happening? Throughout all of this, I'm still doing births, still nursing. I noticed that I was always in pain. Pains in my neck, pain in my hips, pains that were just taking over my body. So in birth work, a lot of times you are lifting and moving people around who have issues lifting and moving themselves and teaching them about good body mechanics. So I had done a birth back in 2020 where I had a larger patient who dropped all her weight on me, and the nurse and her support person pulled out. They had decided this themselves and did not tell me about it. And I got injured really badly by this patient. And so, even though you're hurt, it was 2020. People weren't really going to doctors like that. I would done some holistic ways, but I just kind of, got used to the discomfort. But the discomfort as time went on turned to severe pain. And so I was in so much pain. My hips were always in pain. My neck was in pain. I couldn't sleep. I was still working 412s, plus doing birth work, plus doing speaking engagements, plus doing this channel. And I was just miserable. I was just miserable. I was so miserable and so much pain. And I was afraid that if I didn't keep going, what was I supposed to do? Because, when you're doing this and you're making content and you're out in the community, people don't really look at you as being a real person. I say this all the time. I feel like Black women aren't allowed to be real people. You're thought to be this superhero who can just go and go and go and go and go. And I was in a space of my life that I didn't want to disappoint anybody. So despite all these things happening, I had to keep going, and I was already disappointing people. So I couldn't disappoint even more by not showing up. Well, we got through May, we're getting into July. In July now, my body is in so much pain. I can't sit. It's hard for me to stand. I'm constantly can't get any relief as I'm having chronic headaches. My neck was so tight that I felt like my neck was at a crick all the time. So my head, a lot of times in old videos, are always popped to the side. And so I was just like, what is this? And it got to a point that even sitting to film, I'm having to take breaks because I feel like I need to cry or I need to move. And I then, after a while, would have cycles, and my cycles are going for, instead of like 5, 6, 7 days, to 2 weeks, to 3 weeks, to 4 weeks. And so I went to my gynecologist and I'm like, hey, is there something wrong with me? What's going on? He's like, oh, well, it's that your hormones are unbalanced and that you probably should just have a full-blown hysterectomy, or allow me to do the process where you can do it in the office and then we burn the inside of your uterus so it just stops you from bleeding. So that doesn't deal with the crisis of it. It just deals with the bleeding. And at this point, I'm miserable. I am in pain all the time. It's like, well, maybe this may be what I need to do, because I was to the point that in the amount of pain and chronic pain between the headaches, the neck pain, the shoulder pain, and the hip pain, I was just like, I don't know if I can function anymore. And I was considering doing this. I had a home birth, and it was my last birth. This has been the last birth, and this is the longest I've been without doing a birth. And after doing that home birth, I thought I was going to die. Just driving home, I was in so much pain. I'm like literally vomiting on the side of the road. And this client lived almost an hour away from me, and I'm pulling over just vomiting because I'm in so much pain. I couldn't move. I had said, you know what? Fine. I'll take a surgery. It doesn't matter. I just need something, because it kicked into me that, oh my goodness, this is affecting everything I do. It affected me so badly that I was nursing with this one particular family, and they let me go because I could not move the way that I needed to do. And that devastated me. I was like, oh my gosh. And I have never, in my 12 years of nursing, I've never been let go for anything like that ever. So I was just in a space of, wow, I'm not nursing. I'm not doing birth work. I'm about to go into a major surgery. I don't want to go into a surgery. I'm highly depressed and lost all these things that I've worked so hard for. I was afraid I was going to lose myself in the process. And that was really real to me. Like, that was the first time I can say that my children had seen me crying, saying I have no use. Like, what am I going to do? Who am I if I'm not a nurse or a birth worker? Who am I as a person? If I can't take care of them, what good am I? And I feel like a lot of times for caretakers, this is a real life thing. It's like, if I cannot care for anyone, I'm of no use. I'm not worth anything, and I'm not worthy of anything. And it was a really dark time for me. I just really just shut down the world and stopped filming and stopped doing anything. I literally sat in my house and on a TENS unit, giving pulsations to my body trying to figure out how to go through this. And through my journeys of just looking through things, I decided to, look into, I had worked with a chiropractor in the past, but going to something that was more invasive where, you're getting x-rays done and being able to be not only get chiropractic adjustments, but to be able to be put on a table, to have, heat work done, having laser work done. So I decided to go see a specialist. It's called West Chiropractic Group and out of Pinellas County. And honestly, I can say they helped save my life. So it was the first time I went into their office and I couldn't barely get through anything because I couldn't sit down and I was in tears. And the chiropractor, Dr. Lee was like, hey, listen, I understand. There was a point in time that I could not sit, I could not stand. I thought I was going to lose my practice. And then I started doing this work and we're going to get you your life back. Because I told him, I said, who am I if I cannot nurse? I cannot do birth work. I'm no good to anyone. And I have to be good to my community and to all these people who are counting on me. And I'm worthless now. So what is it? And he looked at me and he's like, wow, that's really sad because you should be worth something to yourself. And that was the first time it really kicked in my head, like, damn, I have put no worth in myself. I've put everything I had into other people, into a building and uplifting other people, but I had completely forgotten about me. So I did my x-rays and everything, and he had me come back the next day and showed me what my body looked at like. Troy, you can go ahead and pull up that picture. So right here, I want to show, so where it's showing is that at the base of my spine, as you see how the spine is supposed to be nice and straight, everything in my spine was twisted from the base of my neck to the sides all the way down, and then it went into my coccyx. So you see how your hips are supposed to sit? Mine set protruded more towards the front. It had a cervical tilt, and that the one hip was higher than the other. And this was at a 2nd degree flip of the hip. And this was why I was in so much pain and having these horrific headaches. And this is the first time I'm seeing on my body, this is what has happened to you. This is what nursing and birth work has done to you. And my chiropractor explained this. He's like, hey, this is not uncommon. This happens to you. He said, I can also tell that you are under a major amounts of stress due to the friction and the tension in your neck. So he's like, this is going to be a long process. It may take you a year, but I can help you. It's going to be extensive. It's going to be intense, and you may be in a lot of pain, but I promise you, I will leave you better than where you started. So I agreed to start that process of getting adjustments 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week, and getting my neck adjusted, my back adjusted, being put on a machine, getting pulled. So all of this, while you're in the initial stages of this, can be debilitating. So I would literally do this and be laid up and could not do anything else. I was still considering surgery, and so they were giving me pain medication, which wasn't really working. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I had scheduled myself for surgery. And right beforehand, I was still in a really big state of depression. I had a dear friend who was actually on the show before. Her name is Zool. She's a dean of a midwifery school, Common Sense Childbirth School of Midwifery, come to me, and midwifery school had closed. And she's like, hey, I have a new semester coming up, and I know you have surgery. So literally, she came to me on a Saturday, had surgery on a Monday. And she's like, I want you to think about going to school. She's like, if you're, because I expressed to her that, I may not be able to nurse anymore. I may not be a doula anymore. I don't know what my purpose will be. And she's like, I want to offer you a space in my school. And if you'd be willing to think about it, just do it. And I'm like, Zool, I'm literally about to have surgery. What am I going to do with this? And she's like, just think about it. And so 6 o'clock in the morning, before I go to surgery, I'm talking about school and admissions and what that looked like, because I just was so miserable. I just like, I need some purpose. I need something to give me hope and to have something to cherish. And so I talked to school, head to going into surgery. Whole time, something in my spirit just didn't sit well. It's like, nope, don't go through surgery. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't let somebody cut on you. Don't let someone cut on you. This was when, so we were in hurricane season. So these were not the big hurricanes, but we just had a hurricane literally that same weekend. It's pouring rain. We're driving through it. My cousin took me to my appointment and I sat there for hours and hours and hours in there. And something in my spirit was just like, don't do this. Don't do this to yourself. It got to the point that I'm in the office. They do my blood pressures. It's sky high. No one's taking into account that I'm in pain and I'm scared. Came from my medications. They didn't have all my medications because they were going to do this surgery in office. And I'm thinking, we're going to be doing this type of invasive work in your office, on my body, on my uterus, and you're telling me you didn't order the correct pain medication and you want to move forward with this. I'm sitting in the office, I'm crying, I'm expressing my concerns to the gynecologist who's looking at me like he's never worked with me. We've been working with each other for the last 2 years. And he's like, I don't see what the big deal is. It's either you're going to do it or you're not. And again, keep in mind, I felt defeated. So I hop on his table, under-medicated, meaning I'm going to feel everything that is done to me. And I am listening to music and my phone starts skipping on the word. It was a song and the lyrics are kind of like, no one loves you like I do. And it starts skipping, no, 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 no. Lights start flashing and power goes out and then comes back up. By the time that power came up, I sat right up on the table. He's like, I don't think we should do this. I said, me either. And I walked out. He said, well, I can send you to a specialist. Maybe they can deal with it. There's something wrong with your uterus and it's tilted the wrong way. And you're just got nothing but complications. And this is more than I can handle. So let me send you to a different hospital. He wanted to send me to a hospital that I know in my community that's known for doing harm to Black women. This doctor has just done severe harm to me. I was terrified and everything else. And I found the strength to be like, you know what? This is not for me. So instead, I had my cousin take me home. I got me a new nursing job the same day and slept for 4 days afterwards. After that, I then turned and enrolled in midwifery school. So, which was like the highlight of my life because I've always wanted to go to midwifery school and I just felt so defeated, but I also felt inspired because I was like, wow, this is a doctor I have trusted. This is a doctor I left from having another abusive situation to then come to this and to have him just do a complete 360 on me. I'm just like, you know what? Women deserve better than this. If this is what I'm getting and I am educated, I am an activist, I work and I have saved people's lives for a living to keep them to advocate for themselves. And this is what we have as, medical professionals in this sacred space. I was like, I want to become a provider. I don't want to be in this space of this anymore. I don't want anyone to be in pain or to harm or to feel like this. And it made me step back and say, okay, let's look at health differently. Let's look at how you're taking care of yourself differently and see what can we do. So I started nursing and I continued to go to my chiropractic adjustments and plans, and I started school. I will say this about midwifery school. Midwifery school is like going to go get your doctorate. Like, it is super, super hard. You are consumed with school, and school is it. That's it. You are studying, you are writing 50 million papers, everything. So I went from working 4 12s to working 3 day 12s, but studying around the clock. I'm maybe sleeping 4 hours at a time. And that's it. Because every free moment I had, I was studying. So I'm getting into this, I'm doing it. I'm realizing though, during this process, I was like, ooh, who I am. If you know me, it's about, I'm about my daughters, I'm about my birth work, I'm about my nursing, and I'm about my money. Period. Those are the types of my life. And I noticed during school what it was taking from me. And I noticed that what was needed from me from school took away from my children. And I'm watching my daughters watch me. And I'm looking at the things that I'm learning from school, like when it came to nutrition and how do we show up and what type of families are we dealing with? And a lot of times we dealing with people who are dealing with trauma and dealing with hurt and dealing with these things on a different level that, yes, I deal with that as a doula, but doing as a provider, you're coming at this in a different scope. The thing that I love the most about midwifery work is that I was learning what it was to be a wise woman. And I had to look at things as a wise woman and kind of take a step back on how am I taking care of myself? Well, I'm not sleeping. I'm still in severe amounts of pain. I'm still on go, go, go mode. Yet now on a way that I'm not even authentically showing up for my children. I'm still not authentically showing up for myself. I've had given up on showing up for my community in that type of scope and space because I'm just going to worry about learning the craft, and then I can figure out how the other pieces fall in there. And I just realized that just wasn't me. And so I'm still going through the process, still trying to do everything, be everything, until school told me, it's like, hey, so you don't have enough births while you're in school. You're not getting enough births. Yes, you have amazing grades, because I had perfect grades. I had 3 4 A's and a C. No, 4 A's and a B. I worked my butt off, and school has never come easy to me. Most people don't know that I'm dyslexic. I don't share it, and that I am an auditory learner. So being in virtual school where you're having to do majority of the work yourself, that was stressful to me. So I had to learn how to adapt to being in an online school, because that is not how I like to learn or learn. I have to be in class, hear everything, because then how I notate things are based on how I hear it. So I had to take all my books, transfer my books over, do all these things to figure out how to learn in my capacity of learning. Also, because of doing that, it takes me double the time to do an assignment as the next person. So I'm doing all of this, plus trying to work, go down to 2 days of work, still needing to pay my bills. And the school's like, you don't have enough births. So would you be willing to leave the state, move to a different state for possibly 6 to 9 months, and leave your children? I instantly broke out into tears. I was like, I gotta what? I'm doing all of this, and now I gotta what? And I just, once again, felt like a failure. And I was just like, I can't believe it's still not enough. And I had to think about it. And I was like, I cannot leave my daughters. I will never leave my children. No matter what I do in the world, my best achievements will always be my daughters. And I said, I'm not giving them the best me. They're not getting everything that they need. And now you want me to leave them to go do births for other people? Not happening. Not happening. So I had to withdraw from school. So that brings us up into September. I was devastated, and embarrassed. So I didn't tell people. I just kind of cut the world off and just kept going. And I had to sit with that and felt like a couple of different things. I was embarrassed and sad, but extremely relieved at the same time, because I'm like, hey, at least now I can take care of these other things. Maybe it is best that I'm doing this. So I had to sit with that and sit with myself. And it's like, how am I going to digest this? So at this point right now, we're going to take a break and we're going to talk to our favorite person on here, Mr. Troy. He's going to tell us about Glass Spotlight.
Amazing story, Miss Courtney. I'm loving everything I'm hearing. So today we have, I'm trying to find it. We got so much stuff on here.
I know, right?
We have a blast artist. His name is Elijah Rosario, and this song is called Chemical Reaction. Let's take a look.
Is it too late to say that I'm sorry? Or have we reached a point of no return? Say what's on your mind. I don't wanna turn a blind eye to all the things that we've done to reach this point into an empty void, facing repercussions from the words of our choices. I'm just trying to find a reason we should stay. Be ashamed to throw it all away. I'm not giving up so easy. I still want you, need you, here with me in the middle of the night when you touch me so gently. If you're trusting, willing to learn me, after all the times I tried pushing away, girl, I still see you right there with you all through my road. I'm still willing to admit my flaws, show you that I'm worth the cause, give you everything you need, prepared to catch you when you fall. You got me pleading on my knees, oh baby, don't leave me. You got me pleading on my knees, oh baby, cause I still want you, need you, here with me in the middle of the night when you touch me so gently. If you're trusting, willing to learn me, after all the times I tried pushing away, girl, I still see you right there with you all through. I'm real, my baby.
That is our boy Elijah Rosario with Chemical Reaction. And if you are an independent artist or spoken word poet or up and coming comedian looking for some exposure, you can go to blastmusic247.com and register for free. But Blast is also looking for the fans. So if you're a fan of great music, you too can also go to blastmusic247.com and register as an unlimited fan and have access to hundreds and hundreds of independent music. So there's a QR code, scan it with your Samsung or your iPhone, and it will bring you to blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time. All right, Miss Courtney, back to you.
Thank you so much. So, if you're just joining us now, welcome back to According to Courtney. I'm Courtney West. I am sitting here as a full spectrum doula, birth worker, advocate, and just really catching up on the last 6 months of 2024. And it was real. So, if you're just joining us, we're talking about between health scares, losing job, joining school, and then my choice to withdraw from school. So, me choosing to withdraw from school, I will say, was one of the hardest decisions, but most meaningful, impactful decisions that I've made in a long time. Impactful from the fact of like I had personally taken out the time to talk to the dean and all of my instructors and to tell them where I was in life, and every single one of them told me that I would be a great midwife one day, and that they respected me for moving through the process the way that I did, on top of leaving school and having to do all of this. Right before I live in Florida, so the hurricane season whooped us down this year. So before our two biggest hurricanes, Helena and Milton, we had a flash flood in my area. And so, I'm leaving, I'm contemplating. This is like the days before I decide to pull out of school. I'm leaving my chiropractor adjustment. I'm in pain. I'm sad. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It's pouring rain. Driving through the rain, trying to get home, and coming out where my chiropractor office is, that area floods severely badly. Well, I'm trying to get home. My car shuts off and I get stuck in a flood. My car has water surrounding it all the way to the lights. I had a Toyota RAV4, and old 2007. This old girl got me through everything, but she shuts off. So we're getting crashed around in the flood, back and forth. My car is just getting knocked around. And I'm noticing we're getting closer to the Gandy Bridge. The Gandy Bridge goes open to a large body of water that is the ocean. So to get across the Gandy is how we get over to Tampa Bay. And I'm freaking out. I'm thinking, this is it. This is how I'm going to go out. I'm going out being in my flooded car. This is what's happening. The water is starting to rise on the sides of it. And I'm like, this is, I'm going to get swept out to the ocean. By creator alone. We get knocked around, and there's a side street, and my car turns off none, and I'm able to, and I hear it just flooding full of water to push through and get to a higher piece of ground and get knocked around. So I got over to a higher piece of ground near a Krispy Kreme donuts, of all places, and had to sit there for hours to figure out what to do and to get my car to dry out enough to be able to go back in the water in the opposite direction to try to get home. So this whole thing took me like almost 4 hours to get home in this car that is now wrecked. Freaking out. How am I going to get to births? How am I going to get to work? How am I going to stay in school? How am I going to do everything? That is what also was the catalyst of me talking to school, and they were saying, hey, you're going to have to move, where I was just like, okay, I'm done. Can't do it. I'm done. I ain't got no car. What am I supposed to do? I'm over it, and withdrew from school. Literally a week and a half later, we start with our first hit of hurricanes. I had luckily, was able to go back in. Like I said, still was working, had a job, picked up working full time, body's a little better, and just hit it. And then we get hit with the first hurricane, Helena. Boom, rushes through us, ripping trees out of the yard, everything. It was traumatic. We had to leave our home because we lived in a flood zone and go stay at my cousin's house. And we have, my daughters, my spouse, we're packing up everything that we can and really packing things up in the house and putting things away, thinking we're never going to come back. When we get back, this may be all flooded and we'll have nothing left. And unless you've lived in a situation like that, and me being a Floridian, I'm born and raised, I've never been afraid of a hurricane in my life. We here have hurricane parties. So when you're getting like preparations, yes, you get your food, you get your water, but you're getting your liquor, you're about to barbecue, you're going to hang out with your friends, you're going to be off of work for a few days. So no one ever really took them seriously, but these hurricanes were different. How the trajectory of the hurricanes hit, they were hitting us. And we've been hit before and last minute it moved, but these ones just moved differently. So the first one we were hit, it was bad. We stayed with family for a few days, but keep in mind, when you're a nurse, you're still working. So I'm still going through driving, no lights. Things are flooded to get back and forth to work. Still doing it. The first, during Helene, I actually got the opportunity to stay with my children, be with my family, and we were able to kind of hunker down and make it work together. So that was a lot. We had some damage, but it was okay. So it took Hurricane Milton. So Hurricane Milton was the first time I had ever had to be away from my children during a hurricane. I work in home health pediatric care. And sometimes we have little kiddos who are really sick, or they're all needing like ventilation, or they cannot lose power because they're on devices that keep them alive, that causes them to need energy. You have to go into the hospital with them. And it was my turn to go into the hospital. So I, keep in mind, had just left school. It was the week that we were all supposed to meet together to go to Orlando to meet, to do clinicals. I'm not there. I'm getting ready for a hurricane. Not only getting ready for a hurricane, but getting ready for a hurricane for my house. And then separate hurricane measures for my kids, who will be going with my spouse and staying with his family over an hour away. And that I was going to be in the hospital with my patient and one of their family members throughout the storm. So this was the first time I had ever been in a hospital during a natural disaster like that. And I live in St. Pete. What happened is, like, what had gotten hit tremendously bad was downtown. And downtown St. Pete was crazy. In the hospital, a part of the hospital flooded. We lost power, and we live what we call next to the Tropicana Stadium. So it's a giant stadium, and in the storm was so bad, you could actually hear the stadium, the top of the stadium, getting ripped apart while in the hospital. Alarms going off crazy. Plus, you're still dealing with this and taking care of your patient. I was working 20-hour shifts for like 4.5 days straight. No, 5 days. 5 days, and it was just complete and utter terror. Hurricane Milton was the first time I had been so frightened. I do have a couple of like little videos, and you'll just see my face is just miserable because I'm in the hospital, and I was just like, this is horrific. It was hot. It was tiring, and it was the first time I had been around so many nurses, and we're all in the same boat. We're afraid about, what's happening to our families, what's happening to my children, because I couldn't really talk to them like that because we didn't have good service. So I'm taking care of someone else's child, giving them all my care, but the whole time I'm thinking about, are my children okay? How are they faring during the storm? Are they safe? Is everything getting destroyed? Will I be flooded in here and I won't be able to get to them because the hospital is downtown near the water? So the whole time it is just terrifying. We actually had a giant crane that came down right next to the hospital, knocked out our water mains. So we having to get pumped out well water. Lights are going in and out. Everything's going crazy while taking care of a child. When I say my nerves were shot, I was in so much pain. and all you could do is just go. There's no bathing, no nothing. Finally, when the hurricane had ended, and also the hospital went on shutdown, so you weren't getting in, you weren't getting out, you were in it. And I was freaking out. It was so, I was, by the last day, I was like, I got to get out of here. Someone has to give me some relief. What can we do? Called my company. They didn't want to send someone, but eventually did, so I could go. I said, I just need to go see where my house is at. I need to go see what has happened to everything that I have and own. And most importantly, I need to get to my children. All of my family had evacuated. My cousin was in Texas. My mom had went to Gainesville with my other cousins. My spouse and my children were an hour away in Sun City. So I was the only person there in St. Pete. And that was such a sober, humbling experience. I had driven home, and there was just disaster everywhere. Fences were gone. Boats were sitting in the middle of the road. People's houses were destroyed all around me. Giant trees had come up, and so most of the roads were closed. I was able to get it to my house. Our fence was gone. I was like, all right, no big deal. Inside seemed pretty okay at first. I drove up the street to go check on my mom's house. And so where I live was right in front of a large lake. I go up the street and I can't drive anymore because I met with nothing but a sea of water. Troy actually has some of the photos from it. So there is a park near the house that comes next to the lake. And the park was just a sea of broken trees. This is one of the trees that were ripped up. These trees are over 100 years old and just ripped out the frame. And what you can't see on the other side is that tree is on top of a house. And this is what is around everywhere you go where we live. So there's two parts of the street. Both of them are flooded in. So this right here is usually a deep canal. All of this is just water seeping onto the sides. Trees that are down everywhere. And this is like a day and a half after the hurricane. And I was just taking pictures. So this is the park I was talking about. So you can see all the way in the back, there's water. So right where in the back is a white gazebo, the water normally is past that. So the water has come all the way up. And this is just me as far as I can walk. And then on the other side, it just floods the streets. You're not getting out of there. So this is where the flooding comes from the other side. That this is as far as I could drive. Because on the other sides, on both sides of it, it's just straight standing water. And so this is for all of this area. So all the way in the back is where the water normally is. And it had come up all the way. And even where that grass was, there was water. And it was just such... So that right there, all the way back where the yellow sign is how it's farther than that is where the water normally was. But all of this had flooded up that you couldn't get in it. You couldn't get out of it. I had to back up and drive the opposite way to get in and out of that space. And this was as far as I could walk out into that park, and because the rest of it was just underwater. And this is just part of our fences that had been destroyed in the hurricane. And, it was just such a little thing. And at the time I was like, I'm so blessed. It could have been worse. Our house could have been worse. All I know now is that I don't know what to do with all of this, but I need to get to my children who are almost an hour away. And I didn't know how I was going to be able to do that because everything was closed up. I'm very thankful my boyfriend was able to come and he got to me and drove me to where they were. Because keep in mind, I hadn't really slept. And I was able to see my children and I just hugged them and 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 kissed them because they had been without power but still had, fresh water, everything else. Like, I ain't never been so, relieved to take a cold ice shower. But, to see them and to be with them. But we, were running off of no power. So that means all of our food was destroyed. All of our stuff was destroyed. In our house, there was no water or power. So we were bouncing between being an hour away to staying at a cousin's house, plus just trying to figure out what to do. And as time went on, I noticed there was just a smell in the house that just didn't smell right. And my daughter is severely allergic to mold. And I noticed her health start declining severely. Well, come to find out, we had severe mold damage because we had flooding that went under the tub, into the walls, seeped into the walls. So now we had black mold. So, recap. Dropped out of school, lost a car, got a car, been in a hurricane, locked up in a hospital for 5 days straight, bounced around for another 6, just to find out that we have severe black mold. We got to move. Going back and forth with the owners of the house. They didn't want to fix it. They just want to sell everything. So now we have to move. It was just so devastating because keep in mind, with nursing, life doesn't stop. So imagine living off of generators, cooking off grills. It's hot. Nowhere to do, nowhere to stay, trying to make sure that your children are okay. Can't even wash yourself with warm water. And still, you got to go to work. You still have to go save other people. You still got to keep other people alive, even though your whole world was falling apart. And my whole world was falling apart at this time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel except for devastated. I'm like, we've lost so much due to the black mold, because our bathroom was on the other side of my youngest daughter's room, and it had seeped into her walls. It had seeped in and had leakage into her carpet. And so she lost everything she owned right before her 9th birthday. So it was so horrible to have to explain this to a small kid who doesn't understand why this is happening. Why do you have to throw away all her toys and all her bed and all her supplies and all everything, plus throw away furniture in the house and losing everything right before her birthday? And so it was devastating to have to be there and be able to hold space for her. And she had a really hard time with it, plus having to find a new place to live. For myself and my daughters, a lot of people don't know that due to the economic changes in St. Pete, it was ridiculous to stay there. Just the funding wasn't there. Trying to find somewhere to live, renting prices were astronomical. I was already paying $2,100 for a house that was less than 900 square feet for us. And to be able to stay there and trying to find somewhere so they could stay in their schools at the same time, it was really, really, really stressful. It was a point in time that I thought I was going to just have to move out the area completely, have them start all new schools, or, my oldest, who's a junior in high school and an art student in a specialty program, I even looked into having her stay with a family member so she could finish school. And that was, the idea of that was devastating. I had to sit down and really talk to her and talk to my family. It's like, what really matters. And she was willing to give up her program just so she could stay with me and stay with us. And so I just felt the burden and stress all on my shoulders to make sure I kept everything together. So I was like, okay, I got to move. I got to keep working. I got to keep my children together. I can't afford anything here. What am I going to do? Because everything I was finding was $3,200 a month, $4,000 a month. And I just keep in mind, I'm going through health issues and crises that I could not take on doing births, plus working overtime and doing everything I was doing anymore. I was spent. I just could not do those things. And this is the first time in my life that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull all of this off. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep us together, keep us all safe, do all the things I'm supposed to do, be who I'm supposed to be. I don't know how I'm going to, I don't know how this is going to work. I had to reach out to family members, friends, trying to figure out what to do. And I was very blessed to find, a program that helped families after the hurricane. So I have not used government assistance, food stamps, anything since my oldest daughter was 2 years old and she's 16. Not that there's anything wrong with those programs. I think they're very helpful. I just never needed to use it because I had always been so self-sufficient. And self-sufficient. And also, I hate being talked down to people. That is one of my biggest pet peeves when working in the community, is a lot of times people do not get help from organizations because they talk so ugly to them. So I had to come very humbly, like, hey, I need somewhere for my children to go and expose all my information, my banking stuff, everything else about this, be questioned about, well, why weren't you working at this point? What were you doing for this point? And just being dealt with like a dog and having to grit and bear through it because I knew I needed somewhere for my children to go. And I was able to grit a wonderful place. Thank goodness for my cousin. My cousin worked for the organization and reached out to me because they had offered me an apartment in a place I did not want to live, in an area I did not feel safe in, an area that I did not like at first. And I was devastated. But I was like, I got to just take a hope and a prayer because I need somewhere safe for my children to live that I can afford. And my cousin reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I'm a manager now over here, and I used to live in this one property, and I can see if it's available to you and you can move in there. So therefore you don't have anyone on top of you. It's a better area. It's where you want to be, but it may be 30 minutes away from where you're living now. I'm like, cool, done. I'm with it. And so through hurricane, working, everything else, got a place and had less than a week to move everything, all of it. Now this brings us into November. End of December is my daughter's birthday. Now we're in November. We are hitting it. And literally it was going through all the broken, whatever was destroyed, getting rid of it, not being able to have the hearts about a lot of things, pack up and move. So during this period of time, I'm still, doing what I got to do, still nursing. Now we're on the campaign trip. And during this period of time, Florida was doing laws and changing laws when it came to abortion rights. So I'm working, doing this, speaking on these rights, doing this work while in the background, everything is falling apart. So we are able to pack up everything, move everything, get it all in there, move into our new place by the 4th of November. Everything's in, everything's packed up. My birthday is the 5th of November. So we're finally in our new space, settling down, working all day. Then for my birthday present of all birthday presents, we got the results for presidency. I personally had a real hard time with those results because I felt that once again, the United States showed what they thought of women of color in power and what their preference of having a woman of power. And it resonated with me in such a way that kind of made me look at myself and say, look, it don't matter what you do. It don't matter how good you are. It don't matter how much work you put in. It don't matter how hard you work, how diligent you are. It does not matter, because at the end of the day, if you don't look the way they want you to look, it's all for nothing. That was such a detrimental, sobering moment for me, because I just cried, and I realized I was crying not only for the loss of this election, not only for the loss of the laws that help for women, but especially for women of color, because I've dealt with women who almost passed away due to Amendment 5 and the abortion ban that only doing up to 6 weeks. I've seen it happen. I've had guests on here who share their stories. So it was devastating on so many levels. It's like, we just don't matter. I don't matter. They don't matter. What are we doing? How are we doing? So it took being in that space, and it took me being that devastated to open up to other women that were near me, that were Black women, and say, I'm done. Because I start getting, calls from friends and coworkers and people that I love doing the work that I do, asking how I was, because I had been silent for so long and I wasn't okay. And come to find out, they weren't either. Like, everyone around me was going through it. It was like a collective feel of, what the fuck? What are we doing? How is this happening? How are we making it? And through all of that, it made me take a step back and say, okay, all right. Choices are made, decisions have happened. All of this has happened. All of it seems bad. All of it seems overwhelming. All of it has been so stressful and painful and hurtful. But what is the real purpose? And then I start thinking about things and looking around me. So our new place is 3 times bigger than where we were. We are paying the correct amount of rent that is affordable. We're in a healthy, safe neighborhood where my children are actually having time to be able to flourish. Like, my children are able to be in a neighborhood that they can play outside. We have grocery stores and safe places at our disposals that we've never had before. It was never a thing. And it is so beautiful to have that for my children and for myself. I realized after moving and being in this new space, this is the first time I had not been in fight or flight in almost like 10 years. I didn't worry about who needed me, who didn't need me. The only people I worried about who needed me were my children. I wasn't hearing gunshots at night and cops harassing people or harming people or in your face. It was none of that. It was just in a space of silence, space of peace. And then I realized, maybe this is really what I needed. Maybe this is what all of it was for, to understand peace and to be human and to forgive myself and stop putting so much of the blame of why didn't this work out on myself, instead of it worked out the way it needed to work out so you could be prosperous and to be able to do well. So now, 6 months later, we're in a safe space. My health has vastly improved. I'm not 100, but I'm way better. My hips are more aligned. My spine is more straight. I'm able to stand. I'm able to flourish. I've been nursing full time and being happy, working with people that I love and love me. And then coming back to you guys, coming back to the channel, sharing with you guys and being vulnerable with you guys and choosing my next routes in birth work. How do I want to move? How do I want to stand up? And doing it with purpose, beauty, and grace. I say all of this to say this. A lot of times, and to be this vulnerable is very difficult for me. It is like one of the most horrific things to me because I am such a private person. But I wanted to come and be this vulnerable because I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only mom or a woman or a Black person out here. You're struggling, trying to make it every day of every minute of every second, and thinking that the world will not love you for being honest or being real or for being broken, for being truthful. And I realized it's not true. It is okay to open up. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say no. So that is what I learned in all of this, is that I can say no. I still matter. And that I can be a person outside of what I do. I am still worthy, even if I never touch another pregnant person again and never do birth again. I'm still worthy. If I never can nurse again, I still matter. And that no matter how bad the world may flip itself on top of its head, you can still make space. Everything happens for a reason. Everything has purpose, not by mistake, but sometimes by design. And sometimes you just have to let Creator ride the wave for you. I can say out of 2024, I have walked away a more vulnerable person. I'm walking away being more, learning to heal properly of myself. I am learning to give grace to myself along with others. I take away from 2024 of what a wise woman does and how a wise woman is. I take out of 2024 that the armor most times that I feel like Black women have to wear to endure life, that it's okay to take that off sometimes and just be. So in 2025, I can say that is what I want to bring, of just be, and what just being will look like and what this channel will look like. It will still be having amazing guests of all different sides of in birth work, outside of birth work, or just amazing people that I just want to talk to and want you to hear their stories. It's going to be about more self-improvement and affirmation. We're gonna be growing shit. You know what? Hey, we're gonna be growing shit. We're gonna be doing herbs. We're gonna be making things new because we are healing ourselves from the inside out. And I want to do that journey with you and be vulnerable and share this with you so that you know you're not alone. None of us are perfect. Nothing is perfect. But at the same time, when you know that there's someone holding your hand and holding space for you, that you can do anything. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be perfect. I'm not going to tell you all the time I'm going to show up and be 100. Sometimes I might be at a 26. But you know what? We'll be at a 26 together. And that be okay. So all of that to say that I hope that someone is sitting here and they're watching this and this does something for you. No matter how bleak this year may have been for you, I think 2024 was the year of seeing truths. 2025 will be the year of resurgence. So I give to you guys, no matter what happens, no matter your political views, whatever, things are going to change for the good, for the worse. We don't know yet. But there will be changes. And it's about how do we hold ourselves accountable in those changes? And how do we move in those changes? How do we hold ourselves during these changes? How are we going to make ourselves better during these changes? So I say to you guys, love on yourself. Love on the ones that you're with. Love on the people around you. And more importantly, more than anything, love on yourself. Love you. You are important. You are to be cherished. You matter. So, I know this was a longer episode, a little bit longer than usual, but I felt like there was a lot to say. And I thank you and for holding space with me. Know that you are loved. Know that you are needed and that you're respected. Until next time, you guys take care.